Good
Hi,
morning.
Tajwana.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Glad to have you here.
I know it's been a while. How are
It
you?
has. I've been blessed. I'm grateful to say been blessed and
Oh,
good
that's
health.
amazing.
So, hello. I am good. See if I can get the echo and stop there in the background. All right. We are streaming it to our YouTube channel because we're going to have these videos available via replay for the Virtual Assistant Network. So don't be shy. Don't let that bother you as you join in, and definitely have open discussion and ask questions. We want to know how to support you best, because we know if one of you have questions, someone else has a question. They just might not be ready to ask it. Okay. But it definitely helps when you all step in and ask your questions and get those specific answers. That's really what's going to be most helpful. Good morning, Sade. I see you. Good morning, Amor. I see you there. And we have Marion, who has already greeted us this morning as well. We're going to go ahead and get started on this week's workshop about onboarding your clients. So the topic is Rockstar VAs invite their clients to onboard. This workshop was already on the list, and after our last workshop, it was brought up that yes, this would be super important. This needs to happen. And we brought this to the forefront because it helps position you, the virtual assistant, for continuity with your client, right? None of us wants to have to be on a continuous hunt for clients. We would like the idea, unless you're doing project specific work and you prefer to start and end in a short period of time. We like to work with our clients on an ongoing basis. We like to get paid by the client we have more often versus finding new clients more often, right? Like we want to have that business continuity, that opportunity to continue to serve. And so as we think about how do we do that, the opportunity to onboard our clients is one way that we can increase confidence in the relationship, increase confidence in what it is that we are going to be doing, the work that we'll be accomplishing with and for our clients, how to best communicate with them, and so on and so forth. So without getting too far ahead, I want to thank you for joining today's virtual assistant workshop through Bootstrap Dreams. I am Tawana Taylor, your VA Network Insider community host, and we will have more of these workshops going forward. So keep bringing the questions, keep sharing the ideas and how these are bringing value to you as virtual professionals, as independent freelance contractors. We want to make sure that you are positioned for your absolute best successful outcomes, especially as you're working with clients through our network opportunities. So feel free to put in the chat where you're joining from. We'd love to hear that. And it's also encouraging to see the various places that we are connecting and having these amazing opportunities be supported. We're going to hop right into it. I'm going to share the screen, and I'd like you to give me a thumbs up, whether it's virtually or you actually come on camera. I'd like you to give me a thumbs up and let me know when you can see the screen on your end. Fantastic. I see you, Amor. Thank you. Look at that. We've got Belize on the call. We've got Kenya in the building. I know we have the Philippines, Magandang gabi on your end. To those of you in Kenya will have to teach me how to do salutations in your various languages and dialect. I know there's so many, so many. All right, so we're going to get right to it because I'd like to do live Q&A at the end. All right, live Q&A at the end. So first up, Rockstar and VAs invite their clients to onboard. The very first point that you should see on the screen is having a client intake. Now that is going to consist of a couple of different things. This is not an all-inclusive list, However, these are just the fundamental things that you should be acquiring from your client, whether they prompt you first or whether you prompt them. You want to ask for these key things from your client. Number one, their demographic information. Make sure you have your client's full name, right? At a minimum, first and last, their business name, where they're located, their time zone, so that you can adjust yourself and manage reasonable expectations as far as your availability when they're normally working, so that you can effectively have open and responsive communication with them. You want to make sure you have a scope of work. Now, you and I both know that sometimes, maybe more times than not, these positions can feel kind of broad with the client. They may say, I need a virtual assistant. And then you find yourself doing things that might be more digital marketing oriented, or more operations oriented, or more, right? Or they might be a little bit, your fingers might be in a little bit of everything. You want to get a good scope of work so that you have a better understanding of how you will best be supporting the client. Is this even the position that I thought I was accepting, right? How do I show up as a professional? How am I going to be leaning into my skills, talents, abilities to support this business owner or this enterprise, or whatever the dynamic may be? You want to make sure you have a good scope of work, and know that the scope of work might not necessarily be very specific list of tasks to complete, but that they might be an overarching idea. The client may say, I want to enhance my digital presence on social media. Or the client may say, I would like to start an email list or a podcast or a blog, or I need to do a better job at tracking my expenses, or I need someone to help me organize my schedule better so that I stop double booking, right? There are so many things that you all are capable of doing, and not that you're going to do, not that you're going to do everything, but I want to cover a diverse category of support, because each of you come from a different background. Each of you come from a different area of expertise. And some of you, I know you can be unicorns. But where you don't have to be a unicorn, or where there's a specific focus, I want you to know that, hey, you can lean into that more as well, depending on the job position. Thank you, Sade, for saying in the chat, this is already good. It may seem unnecessary, but it is an important piece of info. It sure is, because as you may have already experienced, or you may find yourself experiencing, you're coming in to work with an executive, a CEO, or a small business owner, whether they are multifaceted as an enterprise or a solo entrepreneur. They're great people. They have a wonderful business idea or business going, is revenue generating, but you may find, which is why you're coming into the picture, they need support. They're not organized, or they're overwhelmed. And you want to know how to best serve. That's the key thing. How can you best serve that client so that you are seen as value and not just an expense? Make sure you write that down. We're going to talk about that more towards the end of this topic, this training, this workshop. You want to, more than anything ever, and by any moral means necessary, you want to be seen. You want to see and be seen that you are of value and not just an expense. All right. So your scope of work, what exactly are you going to be touching in their business? What in an ideal world will you be helping to accomplish for and with them? Clarify your compensation. Do not, I repeat, do not begin work with this client without first knowing how you'll be working with them. Not only what you'll be accomplishing, but how you'll be compensated, right? That is so important, so that you feel like you're not being taken advantage of, so that you know exactly what it is that you can expect to receive at the completion of that work or that week or that milestone. There's so many ways for your work agreements to go. You want to know these things though up front. You want to know if it's hourly based work, right? If it's hourly based work, will you be compensated at the end of each week? Will it be bi-weekly? Okay. If it is project-based work, you have given them a flat rate for the full scope of work for doing this particular thing. You are going to charge the client this particular dollar amount. Will it be a certain amount up front and then a certain amount in the middle and then the final balance at the end? Will it be 50% up front and then the remaining 50% at the end? What's it going to be? That needs to be clear. Give me a thumbs up if this is supportive, if this is helpful for you. Be making notes because I want us to cover specific questions at the end. So make a note for yourself if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to ask that question. The reason we're holding questions at the end is because last time we had such a thorough conversation throughout the call, it ended up being an hour and a half. And I want people, if they just need to watch the training and come back and message or email or comment questions, I want you to be able to do that. But I don't want the training to be so long and exasperated that people get lost or distracted or don't see the value in them. So let's make a note if we have questions, okay? The frequency, we kind of talked about that. Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. It's important that you know that so that you know when you can expect to receive payment and so that the client knows exactly what they're putting out through their revenue, their budget towards you as a service, right? You don't want to leave it in their hands. They get busy, they forget. We always want to assume the best, but it's your responsibility as the business owner for your business, as the freelance independent contractor, to clarify these things with your client, okay? You have that as a conversation. Also, the method, how will you be paid? Where will you be receiving the money to and from? Is it going to be wise.com? I love wise.com. Personally, I love it. Professionally, I love it. It works like a charm for all the VAs that we work with that come through us or get paid by our business. Again, as those of you who have been with the network a while, you know, I don't function as a virtual assistant management agency. So it's very seldom that I will be paying multiple VAs that aren't working directly with me at one time. However, our company does get contracted to as the source for virtual assistants for grants that are sponsoring virtual assistant services for small business owners. So in other words, a nonprofit or for-profit company will say, hey, Tawana, we would like for you, Bootstrap Dreams, to find 7 virtual assistants because we have 7 small business owners that we're going to pay for virtual assistants for them to receive for X period of time. When that happens, we hold the money and we pay out the virtual assistants to make sure there is financial responsibility and that the money was used the way the grant intended. So we love wise.com. We have also used sources like Western Union. If for some reason Wise couldn't be used, we use Western Union. And then there are others, but those are the top 2 that I absolutely prefer as a business professional. So there may be others. I know there's Payoneer and there's a bunch of others out there. Communicate with your client. What's your preferred method to receive your payment? And know for yourself, is it going to be deposited into a bank account or a Gcash account or something like that? You need to know this so that the client can acquire the accurate information from you to set you up as a recipient in their pay to account. Okay. All right. And then if it's applicable, you want to complete an independent contractor agreement. If it's yours, that's great. You'll present it to your client based on the conversation that you had about your scope of work, your terms of work, your payment or compensation, terms that you all have decided, the rate, all those things. You can put that in your contract. If the client presents you with the contract, you want to review it and make sure that those things are listed in the contract. All right. Next point of topic. Ask questions Ask questions that teach you how to anticipate your client needs, okay? What does it mean to have a team? That's a very good question. This person may have been a professional. You have been a professional. However, this may be the first time they're hiring on a team member in their business. What does that look like? What does it mean for you to be coming in to help them? What does it mean for you to be coming in as their dedicated virtual assistant? And if you have more than one client, you want them to feel like they are your top priority, at least the time that you're dedicated to them, okay? Preferred method of communication. Do they like to talk, hop on a virtual video call like we are right now? Do they like to communicate via mobile on via mobile on WhatsApp? Is it email? Is it chat box? Is it Slack, right? Is it the prompts in a project management tool where you can leave a comment and you put in their user handle? You want to know those so that you can have the most effective communication path as possible, okay? What is the frequency of communication? Do they expect to talk with you every day? Do you want to connect with them every day? Every day, meaning your business days of work, Monday through Friday, Sunday through Thursday, right? It's you and your client will decide what that looks like, but you want to know whether or not they like to hear from you on a regular basis, or whether or not you appreciate hearing from them on a regular basis. Ask your client's sharpest time of day. There is no point in asking them to review things or asking them to make major decisions if they are tired and burnt out. Give me a thumbs up if that is helpful to you, right? And you also want to know your windows of opportunity. What are your windows of opportunity so that your client can be most responsive to you, okay? You don't want to expect a response when your client might be asleep. You don't want to expect a response when your client may be on calls back to back throughout the day, or in meetings or networking or whatever other things that absolutely require their presence in the business. You want to give them opportunities at times that you know are going to support them, at times maybe when you all will meet, or you want to give it to them so that when they have their downtime and they've dedicated that time as a time to be responsive to you, you kind of got a window of knowing, okay, let me get this completed so that it'll be in their inbox, or so that they'll have the chat notification alert waiting for them when, right, they're ready for it, okay? Also, how often you would like to meet. Is it weekly? Is it multiple times a week? Is it monthly? Is it bi-weekly? You may know full well at the beginning of your client relationship, the meetings may be more frequent, and so the communications may be also. As you establish a flow, though, you may decide to meet less frequently. Camille and I have been working together for almost 2 years. So actually going on, I'm sorry, it has been. Yeah, we're going on 2 years. March of 2023 will be 2 years. And we meet weekly. We enjoy meeting weekly. We like to see one another's face. We like to converse and talk about family. We like to talk about the things that are going well in the business, things that are not going well in the business, things we're going to stop doing in the business, the things we're going to start doing in the business. That's where Camille gets to brain dump on me all of the things that she needs me to do, anything I might be behind on that she's already provided to me and I've overlooked or forgotten, whatever the case may be. That's our time to really just kind of take a breath and share with one another so that we can make a strategic plan on how we'll go forward, okay? Also, let's look at how important status updates are. Now, here's where you show yourself as value to the client and not just an expense. When you initiate communication with your client, when you send the good morning message, or when you send the, hey, XYZ is completed alert, right? Don't wait for your client to say, hey, how's it going? Hey, where are we on this? Hey, can I get an update? Because then they have to wonder, Are they actually doing the work? Are we going to be finished on time? Am I going to have what I need to do X, Y, and Z? Right? You want to show you're there, you're present, you're completing, right? You're following through. Don't wait for them to ask you. Take initiative with them. That will also strengthen the relationship. That will strengthen the trust. You won't have to worry about anything when it comes to compensation because they will know whether they submitted a time tracker or not. Whether, oh, that's something that we probably should have put back in the beginning. Get clear whether or not a time tracker is something that you and your client will be participating in. Some clients, professionals, people, really, it's more so a people preference. Some people think it's important. Some people value results more than seeing your time. Some people, like me, I asked for it at the beginning of our relationship, not because I didn't trust her to work. I've been a project manager for 16 years. The majority of my teams have all been remote. So for me, it's not about, are you working? It's more so, how much time is it taking you to do certain things so that I can manage a reasonable expectation from myself as I delegate work to my team members, right? If I give you a heavy work of graphing, graphic designs and editing and things like that, then I know this week isn't a good week to add more to the plate, right? Or I know to say, hey, I know you're working on this and it's very time consuming. Can you pause that, prioritize this, and then go back to completing that because I really need some support with this thing right here. So for me, it wasn't so much on, is the VA working? I know she's working. I know they're working. We're talking all the time. We're in WhatsApp. We're in WhatsApp at various times a day. It's, let me gauge and see how much more time it's taking for certain tasks to be done so that we know how to create a variation of work or so that we know how to prioritize the work as it comes along. All right. So we've got some more VAs joining in the call. Make sure to put in the chat where you're joining from. We love the different country representation. It's absolutely exciting. We're picking up now to continue talking about how can you anticipate your client needs, right? So we just talked about status updates, understanding a frequency. Do they want to update daily? Do they want to update weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? Is it project-based? So an update at the end of that particular task or milestone. Find out what's going to move your client and know that this may change over time. Yet knowing at least a frequency on where to start is going to be helpful for you to show yourself as value, show yourself as present, and that you're taking the initiative in that executive support position. Also, what type of learner is your client? So if you're going to go through the effort to give a status update, then you want to give the status update to the client in a way that they can absolutely receive it, in a way that makes sense to them. Because none of us have time for rework, okay? We don't have time for that. You don't want the client saying, I didn't want that, or I don't want it that way. Let's ask a question. What should the status update look like? If they got to have one, what should it look like? What kind of things do you want the status report to entail? If they're like, oh, I don't know, I haven't thought about that, make suggestions based on the work that you're going to be working on. Then, hey, we're going to have the tasks for the week or for the month, or the overarching goal, and what was done, when it started, when it was completed. Is it still in progress? Is it waiting for the client to review? Has it been published or posted? Give status updates, time references, so that they can always know what's going on, what the progress is, what's been accomplished. This is also good for yourself because as you may be seeking other clients, or if a new client that you're seeking in the future asks for a case study, you can say, oh, well, when Tawana and I began with Bootstrap Dreams Company, she asked me to do this. When she started, we were here. And when we finished, we were here. And along the way, I was able to provide status reports for her that look like this, right? You have a portfolio. Work that you do with your clients, you can use in your portfolio for future reference points to demonstrate your capability, to demonstrate your excellence, okay? You might need to redact some information, yet you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to create new work that you may already have through active work with your client, okay? Also, when it's visual, so your status report might be a Canvas slide. If they're a visual learner, maybe it's putting icons. How many new followers did we get this month, right? And you put little people icon and the number 1, 500, 3,000 over the little people icon. They can get that. If they are an audio person, maybe the status report is recorded. Maybe you're using a tool like Voxer, or maybe you're doing a voice memo and uploading it into your WhatsApp or the comments of whatever project management tool or collaborative work tool you're using. You want to know what speaks to your client. How do they move? If they're a numbers person, you can send them a spreadsheet, right? Glad that's helpful. You can send them a spreadsheet. If they're a numbers person, they don't need pictures. They don't need pretty graphics. Don't spend your time doing pretty graphics for someone who is numbers driven, unless it's like a final report that maybe they'll share with someone else who is more creative, right? But if they are a numbers person, you can put that stuff in a spreadsheet and keep it moving, okay? Keep it simple for yourself. Save your time and energy. Business and family dynamics. Know who they are. Find out as much about them comprehensively, the person and the business person, right? So that, again, you can manage expectations, so that you can strengthen your relationship with them, so that you can ask questions, because it's going to directly affect your work. Example, are they married or dating? Are they caring for really small children, right? Dependent age children, or are they caring for aging parents? Right? Do they have family members with special abilities or special needs? That's going to require their time and attention. This helps you navigate how often they're going to be available, how often they may be out of office, at what times of day they may be on and off. This also allows you to say, hey, how is such and such doing? I know last week was a hard week for them. How are they doing now? They weren't feeling well. Or how was your anniversary vacation? You were gone on holiday, right? Was exciting? Did it exceed your expectation? It helps to know them better. It helps to navigate the relationship that you have and find common points of interest. If they don't want to share personal stuff, we respect that space. However, we know successful businesses aren't run by machines, and they certainly aren't run only by the professionals, but by the people, right? The wonderful people and the experience through their lives lived that they bring to the business. So get to know that client as much as possible. Ask questions about their dynamics, and you can find those out through those schedule-specific questions we talked about at the top. Ask them what their pet peeves are. You don't want to be the virtual professional that sets them off the way maybe the last professional did, or maybe their former employer did, right? Some people go into entrepreneurship because they just quit. Some people go into entrepreneurship because they have a mission, vision, they feel called, they have something they're passionate about, and some might be a mix. But there's no point in upsetting people if we don't have to, because we're human. We are going to all disappoint one another at some point in time, a lot of times unintentionally. So if we can be intentional to know what it is that kind of gets on their nerves, let's figure that out so that we don't do that. Okay. What tasks give your clients the most trouble? Sometimes business owners come into these relationships feeling like they got to have it all together, because you're counting on them. You're counting on them as a resource. You're counting on them as a successful business opportunity. So they come in feeling like they got to have it all together. And the truth is, none of us have it all together. And so you're able to then share with your client and get from them what's going to help make their life easier. When you ask them, hey, what tasks give you the most trouble? Especially if it's in the scope of work, then you will know what your priorities are and where your attention may be heaviest. Yet you might also uncover some things that aren't specifically listed in the scope of work, but that aren't out of scope, right? So it might be within what you're currently doing. They just failed to bullet it out because they just couldn't think of it all. You may also be able to come up with ways to say to them, hey, you might not know this, but I can do this for you. Or, hey, have you considered doing it this way because it's faster, or it costs less, or you can get more out of it, right? You want to be able to give that client an informed opportunity to make a decision so that you can be equipped to go forward and do more great work with, for, and through them in your businesses. Also, what tasks do they want you to do? Again, just clarifying. There's nothing wrong with clarifying, right? They said it once about a month ago, a month later, are we still on track, right? 3 weeks from now, is this still the priority? A week from now, do we want to keep doing that? We got a lot of response or no response at all. It's okay to ask those questions according to the frequency of the work you're doing, the status check-ins, and or the meetings you're having with your client. All right. Let me know in the chat if this has been helpful for you so far. The next topic, we've got a couple of them here. Wonderful. I see your thumbs up. Very grateful. Uncover what keeps the client up at night. This is another way to ask the client, what are the things that must be done but don't have to be done by you? Right? This is another way to ask the client, hey, I'm looking at the list. What are the things that you really want me to focus on? Right? Or this is another way to know, how else can I support this client? Because they're worried about something family, something in their business, something time, something money related. How else can I support this client to help them be successful? Because when they're successful, I'm successful. When they're successful, I get compensated. When they're successful, I might be able to increase in my work or my projects or my rates even with them. What keeps them up at night about their business or about their family? Maybe it's a family matter and business is so overwhelming. They feel bad because they don't have enough time with family. Or maybe business is so overwhelming, right? That they feel like, oh, thank you, Doris. This is helpful. Wonderful. Maybe business is so overwhelming because they're doing too much. They have not released enough things to you that you can do. I know some of you have messaged me. I've had one-on-one calls with me before and said, hey, I could really do a lot more for the client, but this is all they have. This is all they give me. How can I let them know I can do more? I have even had clients say to me, hey, I have this thing that I'd like for the VA to do, but I don't know if it's appropriate to ask them. Or they mentioned it to me 6 months ago that they could help with this particular type of task. But I don't know how to start the conversation on whether or not they have the capacity to do this new thing, or if they're still interested. It seems like it would be obvious, but it's really not. And it depends on the personality of you, the person, the professional, right? And the business that you all have been in agreement with already. And so that's why it's really good to have these open conversations and these status checkpoints, because as the client speaks freely, right, because you guys have built trust, you'll identify more things about them and about the business and more ways of value that you can be supportive to them. And then you can also identify perhaps more income opportunities that you can receive through your work with them. All right. So this question here, uncover what keeps the client up at night, or this topic, a really good question is to ask your client as you start your new work with them is, what has disappointed you in the past, right? Whether it's about teamwork, whether it's about a virtual assistant specifically, whether it's about executive support or contracted work, you want to know that, so that you can be the opposite. You don't want to be the VA or the contractor that disappoints. You want to be the VA, the contractor that meets, if not exceeds, their expectation, because you get them. Remember all the things we talked about in the beginning of the training? You fully understand who they are and what they need from you to be successful. And therefore, you know how to turn around and communicate with them. Moving on, we're so almost at the end. We're down to our last 3 topics. Identify the client's ultimate business goals. You may have extracted this in these early conversations. If we start out with clarifying questions, we'll know these things. We won't be working for them weeks and months and a year in, excuse me, and not fully know what their goal is, what our purpose is in their business. We're not just doing this for a paycheck. We're doing this to fulfill our passions as well, our interests. We're doing this to use our talents, skills, and abilities also. So get to know that client more deeply. Get beyond the surface. Get beyond the tasks so you can be a part of the vision. Ask them what their priorities are. They'll have a lot of things that need to be done, but which one should you start with? Which one is going to give them the greatest momentum? And if they don't know, put on your consultant hat, put on your strategy hat, and you offer them a suggestion, offer them a list of priority that will help them get to their goals more effectively and more efficiently. Okay. And then again, so that you can have a status, so that you can manage your time and have reasonable expectations with your client, and even be able to give a little pushback, right? If they say, oh, I'd like this done next week, and you're like, there's no way. Not only because you may not have the full capacity to do it in a week, but there are so many steps before it's completed that need to happen. Maybe you need to do some market research. Maybe you guys need to put out some segmented content, right? Email list, segment A, segment B, and see which one got the better response, so that when we do this work, we know which one is going to work for us, okay? See the vision. You should hear a theme in this training. You should be like, she said that already. Yep, I did. Because if you didn't catch it in the earlier notes, make it a standout question. If your client doesn't seem to be getting around to it, just ask it plain. What is the vision? What is the vision for your business? What is your ultimate goal? And then what do you expect to get out of our work together? What do you want it to feel like? When you get up in the morning, how do you want it to feel knowing you have a dedicated virtual assistant at your side? When you lay down at the end of the day, what do you want to be able to say? Wow, that you've accomplished. How much easier is it going to cause you to rest if I take XYZ off of your plate? Get the vision from the business owner so that you know how to show up as their best VA, their rockstar VA, okay? And lastly, but certainly not least, and then we're going to go into our live Q&A segment, be solution-oriented. Be solution-oriented. Be a strategist. You've heard me say that. Be a consultant. You've heard me say that. Not just a taskmaster. Remember, be of value, not just an expense. Nobody wants to just feel like they're paying out money every week, but not getting a result. Okay? We're doing work to produce results. And ideally, the work we're doing, we will have communicated and agreed to a compensation rate that feels valuable as well. We're all priceless in the nature of who we are as individuals, as human beings on this earth. Yet we live in a currency economy. So make sure when you communicate and accept your rates, you're accepting rates that you feel are equitable for you, okay? And that's the cool thing about being a freelance independent contractor. More times than not, you can get a rate that's more than livable wage for your current economy, right? Also, take initiative. We talked about that. Provide those updates. Ask those clarifying questions. Don't wait for the client to tell you everything. Not everyone is a great communicator. Not everyone is an effective communicator. So you want to make sure that you are showing up. It's totally fine to have your checklist, just like we do here, okay? You can have your checklist and walk your client through the things that you need to help support them. All right, and then we already talked about those status updates. So this is like a summary. Status updates before you're asked to give them, and by any moral means necessary. Be of value. Have your boundaries. Just because you are a virtual professional doesn't make you a concierge. You are not available 24/7. You have your own lives. You have your own health. You have your own well-being to nurture. You have your own families and relationships and friends and interests. Keep them a priority. Navigate reasonable and manageable work expectations for yourself and for your work with your client. This has been the workshop on how Rockstar VAs invite their clients to onboard. I'm now going to turn it over to our Q&A. Feel free to come off mute. Feel free to put questions and comments in the chat so that we can continue this conversation. What questions do you all have today? I'll give you a moment to get them in. Don't be afraid to ask. And as you think about your questions, those of you who have them, what topic, what point today was most helpful to you? I'd love to hear that. What point today was most helpful to you? Here's one comment in the chat. Would like to get suggestions on tools. Okay. Oh, that's fine. We'd like to get tool suggestions for that. For what part? Let me know what for what topic you want tool suggestions for. For onboarding. So for onboarding, so again, keep it simple for yourself. You could literally use a checklist, right? You could pull up. So currently you're watching this workshop and the screen share was hosted in Monday.com. That's what Camille and I have advanced to in our collaborative work together. When we first started working together, we used Trello, right? You can use a Google Doc or an Excel spreadsheet. You don't necessarily have to subscribe to anything. However, tools that will allow you to do mention the person or send a prompt or an alert, tools that will allow you and your client to go in and see them together in real time or separately. Things that allow you to have version control. Like you don't want to have to always email, the notes, because then, well, what if the notes change? And when the statuses change, it'd be nice to not have to reinvent the status update every time, right? But that you can modify the one that you already have existing, maybe PDF the old one and change the slide, elements as needed. So your onboarding tool can be as simple or as sophisticated as you'd like it. It can absolutely be free, right? They can absolutely be free, or start out with a trial version before you subscribe to anything. Okay, let's see. Thank you for that question, Sade. We're going to have some more VAs come in. The point that was most helpful to me, this is Marion. Thank you, Marion. The point that was most helpful to me was always ensuring that you are checking up on the clients, ensuring that you're meeting the client's demands. Absolutely. Because yes, the client is relying on you, probably more so than you imagine. The client, they hired you per se, right? They hired you, but you are being depended on. The client is depending on you for what's next. The client is depending on you to be getting that agreed work done. The client is depending on you to have their backs, their side, right? You're their right-hand person. So the more you're in and showing that you're present, particularly during the time that you're working with them, the more successful the work relationship, the more trust will be built between you and the client. And then they'll be more open to have conversation, also be more open and willful to pay, to compensate you, because they won't be saying, hey, did you do the work? They'll be saying, wow, you have accomplished so much this week, or wow, we have come so far this month. That's what you want your clients to say. That's the response you'd like to get from them. We have Karimi in Kenya. Is it okay to ask for more work hours from a client? Everything warrants a conversation. I'll say that. Everything warrants a conversation because the client may be wondering, can you work more hours, right? And so as you establish your working relationship and as you're getting amazing feedback, it is okay to ask the client, hey, is there anything more that you would like me to do for you or accomplish with you? And that might increase the hours so that you can get more of your time back. See how that's worded? It's not just saying, hey, I'd like more hours because I want to make more money this week. It's not you saying, hey, I want more hours from your business because I need more money this week. It's saying, hey, client, is there anything else I can help support you with this week or this month or as we go forward that will help you get more time back for your family, or that will help you get more time back to do more podcast interviews, or that will help you get more time back because you're spending a lot of time doing this thing. And I know it doesn't really excite you, or I know that's a task that's super hard for you, right? How can I help you more? That's how you can position that. Always make it about them, even though it's going to be helpful to you. Can we get a copy of the doc via email? Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem at all. We'll make sure that we attach it to, let me see if I can download it now, actually. We'll make sure that we attach it to the replay. There will be a replay for the workshop. I'm looking to see. I haven't tried to, yeah, it'll allow me to export it to PDF. I'll see if I can attach it to the comments here, because those of you who are live don't have to wait. We will try to have the replay out within the next 2 to 3 business days. But if it'll allow me to download it now, you won't have to wait. Currently, it says generating. So as soon as I can get a hold of it, I'll put it in let's see if it'll let me drop it in the chat. Oh, there it is. You should be able to see it in the chat. Hi, Liza, good to see you. Thanks for joining. I see another comment in the chat from Doris. Thank you, Doris. Sometimes when dealing with clients, you can schedule a call for once a week. What happens if the client decides not to talk much about work, but they talk about personal stuff? Do you still charge them? It's still your time. It's still your time. It's not your fault that the client needs a therapist, right? So here's what you can do. Here's how you can listen in to their personal matter and identify how you can help them as a professional. What's bothering them personally may have a work-related result or outcome or effect to it. So if they're saying, oh, my family, I have this to do for them this week, and I have that to do them, and then my daughter's sick, and then my husband has to work, and my mom has doctor's appointment, whatever the case may be. If it sounds like time, like listen for what they're not saying. If it sounds like time, then you can extract for them, okay, in order to give you more time for your family this week, let's look at what we're accomplishing this week or this month in the business, and tell me, client, what are the things that we can prioritize? What should I pause doing so that I can do more for you at this time so you have more time with your family? Right? What should I prioritize this week so that you, I hear you saying you're having to get your bookkeeping and accounting up to date. What can I do to help you with that? Or what can I do so that you have more time to do that versus the other things that you were working on? Right? Listen for what they're not saying. If they're talking about personal stuff, they're probably venting or complaining about work that needs to be done, but maybe doesn't have to be done by them, or work that they absolutely need to do, but other things are taking up their time that maybe they just need help prioritizing. Okay. Also, the second part to the question is, what should you do if you ask for materials from a client and there are delays in the client providing those materials to you, like a month long. How do you proceed to work without materials? That's the thing. You can't, not effectively, right? Because either you will spend a lot of time researching and creating the things, or you will be delayed. And chances are, if you're not working, you're not being compensated. And chances are, if you're not working, the client is not being supported. Uh-oh, we have a really, really big gap in the essence of having virtual assistants support, and the essence of your function as a virtual assistant, and the essence of them bringing you on as their dedicated VA. We gotta cross the bridge. We can't just have a canyon there. So what do? When you onboard that client, and let's say you're already working with them, and this is something that's already happened, it's not too late to go back and say, hey, client, I really like to level set with you. Or if you're starting with them, hey, in order to help sure we have a foundation where I can go and take initiative and be super supportive without needing a whole lot of your time and attention, let's talk about the things that I need to have access to so that I can actually go and do the work that it is that you're entrusting me to do, or that you've assigned for me to do, or that you've delegated for me to do, whatever the language of that customer is, okay? Prompt them more than once. If they are not responsive, you might want to reconsider your work with the client. You can only do as much as the client will allow, right? You can only get access to their digital assets, their logo, their accounts as an admin or as a moderator or as an editor. Only once they set you up for success can you be successful to serve them. So if they're not being responsive, if they are not making you a priority in their business to do the work that they said they hired you to do, you might want to reconsider your work relationship with them. They're not the only client in the world. There are more clients out here. We can help you find them. But you want to make sure that that client knows it's not just your job. It's your jobs together to make sure that you're successful. Okay. Now, should we charge for learning systems that are specific to that particular client? Well, here's the thing. In order for you to use the system, you have to know the system, right? It's a part of the work. So allow yourself in your weekly hours or in your project rate, allow yourself some research time. Now, don't spend the whole week or month researching, but if you've got, 10 hours this week, give yourself 30, 45 minutes, or maybe 1 hour of that 10 hours this week is for the professional development to learn the tool. Okay, because by the end of the week, you want to have demonstrated progress. You want to show it's set up. You want to show things have been put into it, documented. You want to be able to give them a status report. You want to ping them. You want them to say, oh, wow, I got an alert for such and such through the tool, through the system, through the thing. I got a payment through the thing. I got a client contract through the thing. Whatever the thing is that you are working on together, a part of learning it, knowing it, advancing in it is utilizing it. And so allow yourself the opportunity to learn it, and you spending time learning it for that client is a part of your client work. You need to be responsible and responsive enough to include that in your rate or in the hours you're working that week. So when you tell the client, I'll have X, Y, and Z completed by when, you factored in time that you needed to get familiar or acclimated or set up in the system. All right. Thanks for that amazing question, Karimi. Marian, what are some of the signs to watch out for in the interview and onboarding process? Watch out for that indicate a troublesome client. Awesome question. Awesome question. I want to know what to look out for, because when you're interviewing with a client, it's not just them interviewing you. It's you also interviewing them. Things to look out for include, but are not limited to, a client who is never specific. If I say, Marion, I'd like you to come on board with Bootstrap Dreams as my VA, and you say, okay, wonderful. What would you like me to do? Oh, I don't know. I know I need help with some stuff. Let's see, like Camille handles social media and graphic design. I have a podcast. I have a podcast I'd like to start. I'm interviewing clients, but I don't really have, the episodes aren't doing anything with them. But yeah, I just like your help in my business. What? That told you a lot, but nothing specific. So then you might have to say to that client, okay, well, I hear that social media is taken care of. Let's talk more about that podcast. I'm able to do podcasts. I can do video editing and content editing, and I can do transcription, or I can help you link up to a transcription tool so that we can do show notes, and I can format and clean up the show notes, and I can upload it into your podcast tool for publishing. Tell me more about that. Is that something that you'd like to start now? How frequently would you like to have guest interviews? How frequently would you like to be a guest on other people's podcasts, right? Like, you might have to reel them in, but you want to look for a client that's very vague, that never wants to make a decision. If the client never wants to make a decision, if you ask them things in the interview and they don't have anything concrete, or they don't have anything specific as far as their vision and their goals, that might be a headache. That might be a headache zone. And I try not to bring people into the network that are like that, because I know how important it is for you to have someone who is a decision maker, even if they have to sleep on it. You want them to be able to come back informed and ready to say, all right, here's what we're going to do next. Or, I've taken into consideration the suggestions that you brought for me. Here's what I'd like to do anyway, or here's what I'd like to do instead, or let's start with that and then maybe we'll advance to that, right? You want them to be able to give you tangible steps to go forward with. Any other questions or topics? I've got about a 3-minute window before we conclude today's workshop. Also, put in the chat for me what other topics you'd like covered.
Hi, Tawana.
Hi, Liza.
I'm sorry to hop in the workshop very late. It's just that I had a lot of errands for today. Is it possible for me to have a recording of this one?
Yes, we will have a recording out in about 2 to 3 business days. There'll be the recording and a copy of the notes that we went over during this workshop topic.
Also, next question is, can I invite my friends to apply here?
Yes, you can. So if you have fellow virtual professionals, your colleagues, friends, or family members that you trust, that you know will show up as professionals, have them join our VA network so that they can get on our email list and get the notifications of these workshops as they happen. I'm listening, Eliza.
I actually have a team of virtual freelancers.
Wonderful.
In different niche, yes.
Okay, well, through you, if you'd like them to join the workshop, then make sure when the registration windows open, have them sign up through our scheduling link so that they can get the prompts, they can get the text minders, they can get the email and the link to join the call.
Okay. So I can send them already the link.
For this workshop, the link is closed because it's already done. But then when the next one comes out and you get that email that says
for the next one, yes.
Yep, you can send them the link. That's fine.
Next one. Also, can I have another client?
We are giving out client opportunities based on the client need and the skill set that matches to them. So keep your eyes out for we're hiring, or our client is hiring emails, so that you submit the interest form that says, hey, I'd like to apply for this position number, 00XX. It's so important for you to use that position ID number, because a lot of the position titles are exactly the same. And we don't want to say, oh no, which assistant position was she wanting, or which digital marketing position was he wanting, right? We want to know, oh, this VA is interested in 0061, 0079, 00, and that allows us to more quickly and effectively compare your skills and abilities to what the client's needs are, and then make the introduction where possible. Okay.
Actually, I have a client now.
Well, if it's an individual client, let's talk about that offline so
Yeah,
that we can
sure.
be respectful of the workshop time. You know, I'm always willing to have a
Yes.
one-on-one with you. And I want
Yeah,
to make sure
sure.
I cover all the questions. For how long should you work with a client before seeking an increase in payment? That, you know what, so this is one that's going to be subjective. It depends on your client relationship and on the work agreement that you have, and on the progress, the value you can effectively demonstrate with that client. So that means if you start with a client where you're on a trial or probationary period, well, you know, after 30, 60, or 90 days, your rate may increase, right? Or if you go into the client working at one rate and you are doing the work, you're knocking it out, maybe you're getting it done faster than necessary, and the client is seeing successes, they're converting more customers, and you see that there's a potential for the trajectory, you may be able to have that conversation, not based on what you can do and could do for the client, but what you did. Okay, you can present to them that case study. Hey, you know, I'm so excited for the work that we've been doing together for these many weeks or these many months. This is what we've accomplished. I just really want to pause for you, clients, and help you see how far you've come in our work together. Make it about them, even though it's going to support you. Okay, so it's not necessarily a time thing. Yet it's more so your confidence and your ability to show your value. Some clients will come to you and say, I want to give you a raise, or I'd like to talk about a bonus structure or a commission structure on top of your base pay. And then you have other clients that might not say anything at all, either because they're just not thinking about it, or maybe they aren't making more money yet, and so they're afraid of that conversation. But everything warrants a conversation. Okay. If you have any other questions, I'll take one more before we conclude today's workshop. And I'll tell you really quickly, we have 7 keys to nailing your client interview will be coming up. We also have a client, make it about them, even though, I mean, not a client, but a topic, I'm sorry. Make it about them, even though it's about you, coming up. We have words that will get you canceled with your client. That is another workshop that we will have coming up. So feel free to reply back. You're going to get a follow-up at the end of this workshop that says, thank you for your time. Feel free to reply back to that. I love reading your feedback. I love knowing what questions you have, because that helps me and Camille to know that we are on par with giving you the best support possible to help make sure you're successful, because we genuinely want to match you with your ideal client. We really, really love when that happens, and we're disappointed when it doesn't happen, and we keep on the lookout so that it can happen. So make sure that we know how to support you. If you have any questions, concerns, if you're available for more clients, please let us know so that we can go forward. When you email me, please CC Camille, because she will catch your email probably a lot faster than I will. And that'll make sure that nothing is overlooked. But if there's something that you don't want to share with her and you want to share with me personally, know that she may still be privy to it because she supports me, but we do have discretion here. And I may loop her in to get you on schedule or to make sure that you have what you need to be supported. All right. So give me a wave or a thumbs up if we're all good. This workshop was valuable to you, because we definitely want to come back and continue to do these. Oh, great. We've got some suggestions in the chat. DA different titles and their work demands. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love this. And thank you for the feedback you've provided already. Any final thoughts? All right. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, you all have an amazing day and nights on your end. Our replay will be out in 2 to 3 business days. We've already dropped in the chat. You got first dibs. See, when you join live, you get specific answers to your questions and first dibs to the show notes, so the workshop notes. And we'll see you again on our next workshop training. Bye for now.
Thank you, Tawana.
Thank you.